Hey everybody, what's going on? Rob Sestrino back here with day 4 of our Survivor 47 preview series, talking about 2 more survivors here today with the unofficial king of the preseason. It's Mike Bloom. Mike, how are you?
I'm great, Rob, because today we got to try a little tenderness.
Wow. Okay. Could have gone a lot of different ways for the gotta pun, but
well, we got 2 more days, Rob. Just you wait.
Yeah. Okay. Lot to do here. Okay. So we're gonna talk about Andy and Anika here today. Very excited once again. Mike, what color is the Gada tribe?
They are yellow. Maybe that should be another song parody I can come in with. I'm just trying to slow roll a wand off into this, trying to manifest it now that Josh Regler is watching modern day Survivor again. But yes, this is our second tribe. Of course, if you missed the Lavo tribe, we're here to now talk about another group and see how they might fare by comparison. See if we have indeed, as we have the past couple seasons, a disaster tribe. Wasn't so great for the last yellow tribe we've experienced. So we'll see if they can improve upon that.
Now, if you missed any of our previous coverage, you can, of course, hear it all in our Survivor podcast feed. Go to robbinswebsite.com/subscribe to get that all, or watch them here on our YouTube channel as well. Okay, Mike, up first. Let's talk about Andy.
Oh, Andy, he is 31 from Boston. Is it clear I've lost my mind yet? It's only
what's with you today? What's going on?
Song in my heart, Rob, because I had such a great time.
I want Andy.
We'll see if people are saying that about their winner picks, because Andy is certainly a big presence, one of the most knowledgeable people certainly coming into the show, and we should be cards up here at Rob, as we have been doing with people like Asia and even with someone like Teeny to a certain extent. Andy, a pretty well-known member of the RHAP patron community.
Gotta love it.
So talk to me more about this, because he has a certain nickname that he goes by, right?
Yeah, so Andy, longtime listener, and he'll touch on that a little bit in the interview, but Andy was also sometimes referred to as Baby Andy. That was the nickname that came up, and you know what? Let the mystery be. I kind of feel like.
Yeah, though I am intrigued by
that's his story to tell, not mine.
Gotcha. I didn't know if that was a takeoff on like the little baby 80 back when those videos were popular.
Nope, it was not.
Okay, well maybe this could be a nice icebreaker.
I'll give people a hint.
The rest is behind the paywall.
Yeah, there's roughly 270 RHAP episodes, plus many non-canonical episodes for you to feast your ears upon.
All right. Well, we've spun the wheel. It's landed on Andy. So yeah, as I've sung before, Andy is 31. He lives in Waltham, Massachusetts, and he is currently a grad student getting his master's in AI. So suffice it to say, maybe he was someone who was in the era of Big Brother production shortly after playing Survivor.
Yeah. Did he do Ainsley? Was that his work?
Ainsley might have been his calling card. And who knows, maybe, he comes in with $1 million in his pocket from Fiji. He's like, the first thing I'm doing is I'm getting the ears of Allison Grodner and Rich Meehan. And I'm saying, have I got a twist for you? Okay.
Mike, let's get to Andy's interview and we'll come back and talk about how everything is looking for Andy.
Hi.
Good to see you, Mike. It's been a while.
It's been a while, but like we had a conversation pretty much to this day 1 year ago.
Yes.
And we said that you would be out here. And look at this, man, the power of manifestation.
We've come a long way since we've been on a Brant Steele together. You remember that one?
And now your actual face and name are going to be on a Brant Steele proper.
Yeah, dude. Oh my God. I'm so excited. I am so unbelievably happy to be here. Like you said, I feel like it's been a long time coming. I was a finalist last year. So to go through that and to not know if you were ever going to get contacted again, it brings up a lot of emotions, but things have fallen into place so well for me. Like I've given myself back to my life in the year between. I am so much more ready to go. And I wanted to get started like now, like right now, dude.
Well, let's get started with this at least. Yes. Give the deets for those that are ready to put you into their Brand Seals preemptively. Give me your name, age, and occupation.
Hi, I'm Andy. I'm 31 years old. I live in Boston, originally from the great Buffalo, New York. Currently a master's student in computational linguistics, which focuses on machine learning, specifically natural language processing.
Okay, so you are going basically it's like the opposite of what AI is right now, only reliant on nature. Are you excited to get away from tech for a little bit?
Oh my God, I'm so happy just to not have my phone. I don't miss the scrolling, the doom scrolling, Twitter. I don't miss it at all. Only just like being able to contact my loved ones is the only thing I miss about it. But I mean, this is so freaking cool. We just did like safety school the day before, talking about like how we're actually going to be living outside with nothing but just our clothes. And I'm just ready to go, dude.
Well, let's talk about what brought you to safety school, from grad school to safety school. Talk to me about your history with
Yeah.
watching Survivor, and then what made you decide that you wanted to be one of the many players to participate in it.
Uh, yeah, so I grew up watching a ton of reality TV. I was more into like the real world and like the challenge, a lot of MTV stuff. Survivor caught my eye a little bit. I remember I watched some of All Stars, the post merge. I didn't see our guy, Rob Cesarino, but I did love Boston Rob when I was a kid. But I really became a super fan about a decade ago out of college. And the first season I watched was Tocantins, episode one, who have Carolina, got me hooked, dude. And so whenever I get into something, I have a very obsessive personality. I have to be an expert on it. So I just immediately dove into everything available at the time. I got into Rob's podcast, pretty early on as I was watching all the seasons in chronological order. And like RHAP was the coolest resource there. So I really wanted to get involved. I became an RHAP patron, like got to know Rob just by like calling in. If you're like a $10 patron, you can just call in and talk to him. So I've just been, it's been a huge sort of North Star for my life. It's just been incorporated into everything because as soon as I knew that, as soon as I like fell in love with the show, I just knew I wanted to play. I think Gabby Piscuzzi said something really wise once. She said, not every super fan needs to play. You don't have to get off the couch just because you love Survivor because it's going to change your relationship. Those are very wise words. But as soon as I like heard that, I knew I was the one that did need to play. Like this is just burning inside of me is the biggest scratch that I cannot wait to itch. Yeah,
Oh,
dude.
well, let's talk about some other players that have been scratching away for many years. Give me one Survivor winner and one non-winner who you identify with the most. Have any of those aforementioned names falling into those categories for you?
Sure. Okay, so winner, give me Yule and give me Todd. Yule, I love, dude. Like he has a really big reputation for being like a super intelligent guy. He really is, but I think that it was his emotional intelligence that won him Cook Islands. The way he talked to Penner was so different than the way he talked to Becky, to Ozzy, even cooking up a little jury deal with Adam that got him the win. I think that was ahead of its time. I think people should do more of that. But it was really his EQ that I really was drawn to the most from him. Todd, dude, he just knows the game. He loves the game. Like that's how you got to come in, like Todd, like just a savage, just ready to do anything. And then non-winner, I think the new era player I want to play most like is Omer.
Hmm.
Omer really he didn't win. He got really close, but I think he laid a really good repeatable blueprint on how to do well in the new era. He did not touch advantages, which we'll get to, but his game was based off of, social capital, information, and options. And he did it in a way that, there was a path for him to do it while sustaining his threat level. Marianne came in at the last second, got him out, but yeah, I want to play like him. And then, okay, let's see. I watch Australian Survivor, so let me do
Okay,
something
yeah, let's
different.
go international here.
Okay, if
Absolutely.
I could play a Ferris game, oh my God, I would live for that. I would love that. Transporting that to the US meta might be a little bit difficult, but he's an absolute star. And then Haley Leak, creme de la creme. People are like, oh, she got voted out. I don't give a fuck. Like, look at the material. She is the most amazing polished player, innovative, like a challenge beast. She's like definitely like, you know, aspirational.
Mhm.
And actually, just this is I'm just saying this off the top of my head, but like you, I watch a lot of reality TV, dude. A lot of reality TV.
Of course.
Of all the people who've come and gone, who've played in the past, I think the one person I actually felt like I related to the most was Kevin Martin, the winner of Big Brother
Mm.
5. Just in the way his energy that he brought, but the way his competitiveness, the way he looked at competition, his level of preparation, I feel like is probably the best template for what I'm trying to bring. Even, and this isn't even game related, but for me, very recently coming to understanding of my own bisexuality was a
Mm.
very, watching him, it wasn't like a one for one, but like looking back, I just feel like I relate to him more than anyone I've ever watched.
You talk about level of preparation. Obviously, you were someone who was well studied in the game, and as you mentioned, you also came very close to being in this exact same spot a year ago. So, what has this prep process been like? How comprehensive was it for you?
I tried to do everything under the sun. Obviously, what's become very popularized is Carson and like 3D printing all the puzzles and studying it. I did a lot of that. I did a lot of the puzzles, but there's more to that. Like he lost the fire making challenge, right? So I became sick at fire. Like that was the number one thing I needed to do because honestly, you can't call yourself a prepared Survivor player in the new era if you're not really, really confident in making fire. Obviously, you want to win the Final Four challenge, but you want to have those options. You want to play an end game confident in your fire making ability. And then just challenges at large. I watched, what was it, like Peridium's like 4-hour challenge hacks video. I like wrote them all in my notebook and I have it here. And so I take the level of preparation really seriously. I did start working on my grip strength before Charlie told me to, like a few weeks before. My forearms aren't special, but I think I've improved there. So any edge you can get, especially when you're just sitting there getting ready to play Survivor, you have to do. You have to do. So I try to maximize that.
Besides a latent surge in grip strength, give me your biggest superpower and your biggest piece of kryptonite that you think you're bringing into this game.
Ooh. I think I have two superpowers. I think that one of my superpowers is I just have the ability to charm and disarm. Like when people meet me, they vibe with me like really, really quickly, especially at this stage of my life where I'm confident just to be myself. I have my little quirks, I have my high energy, and I just let it shine. And I haven't met anyone in my adult life who's like disliked that or disliked me. My other superpower is I feel like what really, really started to draw me into Survivor and Survivor strategy was like number crunching. So I work in, AI. I was a data analyst in big tech before. Like I'm really, really good with numbers on the fly. And I feel like I'm very, very confident no matter what situation I'm thrown into. I'm always going to know the optimal, whether it's a vote split or like some plurality option. I'm going to be able to see that. And I feel really confident to have that plan and have the bonds to like execute on that. Kryptonite, dude. I'm a huge overthinker. I
Ooh.
like the surface, I'm like laid back. I know that, but underneath, it's like I'm constantly, constantly thinking. Like like I was overthinking how to tie my own shoes yesterday. I'm like, oh, like because I'm gonna be at the airport, I don't want people to know I'm like bad at untying knots, so I gotta like tie it really loose. But like, what if I... So like my brain is like a whirly gig, really. So what I have to do is really know that about myself and just be conscious to take deep breaths while I'm making decisions out there and trust my instincts.
I mean, you talk about the idea of being judged for even something as small as the knots on your shoelaces. I'm sure you are also, executing the same judgments onto others. So, in these days that you've been observing each other from afar, give me your thoughts. Let's start on the positive sides. Who are some people that right now you're vibing with? You're thinking, okay, best case scenario, I end up on the beach. These people can be my ride or dies.
This is the best question you ask, and no one ever gives you a satisfying answer. Let's break it down. I'll go through all
Okay.
of them. Like, freaking. Okay, so at the top, all right. Okay. All right, I'm an RHAP patron. I'm heavily involved. It goes without saying, I know who Asia Welch is. I could give you 10 fun facts about Asia Welch. We have the same birthday. She loves her dogs. I know a lot about her. And I feel like we're going to click really, really well. And if I ever get a chance to link up with her, I'm definitely down to work with her deep into the game. Um, so let's put her at the top.
I feel like the past two seasons of the new era in particular have been such like a marked advancement from even what we had seen the 4 seasons prior. What is your biggest takeaway from these past 2 seasons that you plan incorporating into your game?
Here's my big thing. Here's my big thing. It's my Survivor hot take too. There is nothing more overrated in Survivor history than the hidden immunity idol. These things are not worth the parchment that their notes are printed on. I
Woo!
mean, like, just think about it. Like, okay, in the new era, let's talk about the new era specifically.
Mhm.
Marianne is the only winner in the new era to ever touch a full-fledged hidden immunity idol, one without like a quick expiration date like Gabler's.
Mhm.
And she used hers to her advantage in certain ways, but she never had to play one for game reasons. None of them did. that goes to show that holding an idol is orthogonal to your win equity, right? And you see so many times people get the idol, they get so excited because they think it's their like, ticket to the end. And more often than not, it blows up, In 46, how many people are leaving with idols in their pockets because of the idea, the myth of the idol? It is so clear to me that the real advantage is knowing where the advantages are. If you are someone who knows where they are on your tribe, but you're not holding it, you have all the power, and you could do exactly what you want without having the target on your back. So that's where I want to be. I will be. Brandon picked up the Beware advantage and then like handed it to Sabaya right away. But I think if I get the chance, I will be the first one to leave it, cook up an idea of how to use it to my advantage, and definitely get someone else to take it.
All right, well, I'll go a non-orthogonal for this last question. Love how you threw that in, by the way. Do you know how I end these things? If you could bring a celebrity or a fictional character out for a loved one's visit, who do you pick and why?
Yeah, I don't know, Mike, because it's like people always say like, oh, Beyonce. Like Beyonce doesn't watch Survivor, She doesn't know who you are. What is that? It's like a meet and greet. I don't know. Like, what is Goku going to tell me on day 18 of Survivor? I'm like, dude, I just want to see my girlfriend. But okay, I'll answer your question. I feel like I'll just pick celebrities I want to meet regardless of the context. So give me Josh Allen. I'm a big Josh Allen guy. I would love to be friends with him. I'm a massive K-pop stan, so I'm going to bring in my favorite group, aespa. That's my favorite group. That's Karina, that's Ning Ning, that's Winter, and that's Giselle, which is my bias order for those who are curious. And who else? I don't know. Okay, my favorite author, he's this guy named Thomas Pynchon. He's a total recluse. Like no one's ever met him. Like people don't even know where he is. So, bring him here. Bring them all to me at the same time. I don't know what we talk about, but
I mean, that's a hell of a reward table. Yeah, I imagine you all eating at Applebee's together. The conversations would just run as wide as the Shark Gummy Bowl. I am so thrilled that you're getting to do this. To your point, I know this has been a long time coming for you, but I think, unlike the Bills, you're ready to bring home that W, and you're ready to show what you're truly capable of, man. I'm so pumped for you, and I cannot wait to see what you get to bring to this game.
Thanks so much, man. The Mike Bloom interview, like close to the top of the bucket list. Every little piece of this has been a dream come true, and I've been waiting for this one, man. So thank you so much. We'll see what happens, dude. This is gonna be the happiest season of all time. So
absolutely. We'll call it right now. We'll be talking again in December when you're cashing in those $1 million bills.
That's right. All right. See ya.
Awesome. Have a good one, Andy. Thanks so much again, man.
All right, Mike. Great job there by Andy.
Yeah, Andy, full disclosure, he was my first interview that I got to do for Survivor 47, and he very much brought in that welcoming energy. I was a little nervous. I hadn't done it for a year. Obviously, he was nervous for a myriad of reasons, but just such a great vibe to him. And we spoke about this at the beginning, just to, again, be a bit more transparent. So that time last year, so late May, during the Survivor 44 finale, there was an event in New York City. I believe that's when I met Andy for the first time. And as he mentioned on the interview, he had just gone to the casting finals of 45 and did not get onto the cast. I know he was certainly asking me questions about, like, what is the 45 cast like? And I know he was in an understandably tough space, given the fact that, like, he is now going to watch the preview of 45, a season that he was nearly on. The cast of 45 was gathering a bit then as well. So I'm happy that he was able to finally, grab that golden ring and wind up on the Golden Tribe.
Okay. All right. Let's talk about the prospects for Andy. And, the thing that Andy has going for him, he's just so likable. You come up to him and he's got such great energy. The vibes are on point and just such an easy person to get along with and to talk to. He talked about the charm and disarm. I think that the charming, the disarming, I think that he, like, whether he can do anything with that after, that is up to him. But I do think that should be working. He's got the great thing going for him of the long hair, which I think...
Long hair don't care.
Long hair don't care, but I think it's just like such a shorthand of like, oh, that he's probably kind of a dummy. And he's anything but.
Yeah, I mean, listen, to be transparent, and there will be a contestant that we'll talk about later on and down the line that makes this comparison as well. I think there's a little bit of a line you can draw between Andy's perception and the perception of someone like Austin from 45. And listen, so what some people argued about Austin was that he was a little too loyal, that he was a little too supplicating to his allies, and it cost him the game in the process. And so, like, it's not the worst person to be compared to from season 45. Yeah. Yes, he got to the end and nearly won in a 5-3 vote, but he was never necessarily looked at as like, oh, we got to get rid of the Austin type.
So I think for Andy, incredibly, and I don't use this word lightly, but a brilliant person, incredibly smart. You could hear how fast his mind is racing, much like the aforementioned Akiva. He mentioned issues with tying his shoelaces. Could he potentially trip himself up going too fast?
Yeah, is that what happens with Akiva? It's not that he necessarily doesn't know how to tie his shoes. It's that he's actually so in his head about the way people will perceive him tying his shoes in public that he decides to beat them out.
I don't believe that that's it.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing that really drew a red flag for me. And we'll talk about this at the end of this whole process, who my winner pick is. Andy is definitely in the conversation for me because I think there are so many pros in his column. To your point, he has this real unassuming, easygoing charm to him that really masks a love, passion, and knowledge of the game as well. This is an incredibly heady person that does come with the downside of, as he mentioned in his kryptonite, overthinking. And maybe the consequences of the 26-day game, as people have talked about, is that, like, you don't really have time to overthink because they're always throwing something at you every day, basically. But it's always something to kind of look out for. I mean, look at 46, for instance, where people were overthinking all the time and targeting their number one allies and not playing their idols when they needed to. Though, I should also mention, they did watch most of 46 before coming out, so it also might revert back to that.
Yeah. So I think that Andy, I mean, he knows the game extremely well. And so I think that that's not going to be an issue. He's super likable. I don't know if he mentioned any athletic accomplishment, but he's, I'm not worried about him in any way, shape, or form. Seems like he's in great shape. And so Andy does seem like he's got a lot going for him. I just worry, could he either A, trip himself up, the shoelaces metaphor, and then, or B, like, could he sort of like tip his hand in a way where he starts talking about, these things that are not orthogonal and might be a scoot. And the people start to realize, wow, this guy is very smart, and he's likable, and he's physically fit, and he's too big of a threat. He's got to go.
That's the thing we go to all the time with these new era players. We've done it a couple times, even with Asia, with Rome, which is like, I think Andy on paper, very well set for the pre-merge. I think from a challenge perspective, like you said, he's probably going to perform pretty respectively, though we don't know. It could all fall apart, but he certainly has been putting in the work to prevent that. And then from a personality perspective, he doesn't seem like someone that would necessarily stick out for the wrong reasons. But of course, when the game turns individual, then all those superpowers can be turned into big red X's that can get put on your back. And I would not be surprised if Andy does get that target suddenly thrown his way, especially if, to your point, like, once he starts getting his feet out from under him, and if he decides to start really word vomiting about how much he loves the show, hell, what if he goes to tribal council, sits down, and just starts listing off to Jeff, like, well, I love the set that you did in season 34 when it was this, and then the one in season 17 when it was this. There are worse reasons to target someone in terms of super fandom, and Andy could stand a chance of that. I think the best guarantee he has of going far is to hide that really super intelligent aspect of him.
He did mention he recognizes AW.
Mm-hmm.
Knows a new 10 fun facts about Asia, including having the same birthday as Asia.
I don't know when Asia's birthday is. Wouldn't it be fun if they both like made the merge and celebrated it out on the island together?
I do not believe that you're in the right time of year, Mike.
A trap. Well, maybe they'll have a joint birthday party together at some point. But yeah, I mean, obviously, this is another thing in both of their corners that if a merge situation does happen, that they at least try to look out for each other initially, even if the tribe aspects they come into the merge with might not necessarily bear out. What did you think about Andy's hot take Rob, that the idol is overrated.
No, I think that is actually, Andy, you might even say Andy is a bit of a hot take expert. Always has good hot takes, Andy. That his hot take about the idol being overrated, I agree very much so. That, he had the data to back it up, as you would expect. And that the idol has not been especially fruitful here in the new era.
Yeah, I think our next person is going to put it even better. The fact that the way idols are, I wouldn't even say the idols are being overrated, but I think compared to the way that they are being used right now, which is like you get an idol, everyone finds out about it, and then as a result, you get voted out with it in your pocket. That's where it really loses its power. And I think Andy, as well as a bunch of other people that we've talked about so far, have brought up really salient points about how it's almost become less and less about who has the advantages and more so about knowing who has the advantages, because then you can be much more tactical and, as we saw last season, nullify a lot of those powers.
Yeah, I think that's a fair point. Is it the idol itself that has jumped the shark, or has like the metagame evolved so much where that once the knowledge of the idol gets out, then it's like open season for the idol holder? It ends up being much more of a vote magnet than a vote nullifier.
Right, exactly. And you do look at even just the hit rate of not even idols, but like advantages in general, especially with 41 through 44, where they were really throwing everything in the kitchen sink there. And it's not a great hit rate. And I think also it maybe speaks to maybe the opposite effect that production was intending, of like, you throw all these factors out and the contestants are more likely to turn inward and play a little bit more of just like a human-based game than having to worry about all these other things that are getting thrown in. And I would not be surprised if the trend continues for 47.
Well, I think one of the staples of the new era has been sort of the public knowledge or the cooperation required to get the idols. And I think that the fact that these players need to bring other people in or signal to other people in some way, shape, or form that they have an idol, I think that has proven to be more of a detriment than a benefit of having the idol.
Yeah, Andy brings
the
up
one Marianne found was just without any sort of beware component.
Yeah, and of course, then she chose not to tell anybody about it. And yeah, outside of that, and like he mentioned, the one-time idol that Gabler found and ended up not using, there has not been a single new era winner to win the game besides the two of them without using an idol. And I guess going back to Andy's degree of choice, we have to figure out at this point, is that a feature or a bug?
Okay. All right. Great stuff from Andy. Looking forward to seeing what he does out there in Survivor 47. We've got another person to talk about. We are going to talk a little bit about Andy's tribe mate, Anika, when we come back right after this. Mike, time to talk a little bit about Anika. We're doing it for Anika.
What's in it for Anika?
What's in it for Anika? A neat lady for sure.
Hopefully $1 million along the way. Wouldn't it be wild if she held up a vote and said, "This one's for you, Brad"? If there was just a Brad involved in her life at some point.
A rad, maybe. Yeah,
exactly. Rad. It's just removing one letter at a time every 20 seasons or so. Survivor 67, it's going to be Nika and Ad.
All right. Tell me about the manager of finance, Anika.
Yes. So Anika Dhar, she is 26 years old from LA. And as you mentioned, she is a manager of finance and operations. And so she's going to go from number crunching behind the scenes to on the beach.
It does seem like here in the new era, we do have a lot of finance types, people who are data analysts. Who knows? Maybe that's actually Rob, that's what the workforce is right now. But it does seem like this does come up a lot more in Survivor in the 40s than I feel like at any point earlier in the show's history.
Yeah, you talk about putting the magnifying glass on the times we live in. We just got off talking with a guy who is studying AI engineering in school. But yeah, it's an interesting point. I haven't done the math as well to figure out listen, I know there's certainly been comments amongst the
We're not numbers analysts.
No, certainly not. I'm more of a comfort analyst than I am a numbers analyst, to go to the Tony mentioned there. But it is interesting that we've had more office workers, it seems. And maybe it's just because it's been more concentrated in the new era coming in. That also might come from the fact that, like, you do have to ask for 6 weeks off of work. I don't necessarily know in certain lines of work if you're able to do that. But yeah, Anika is here to have her white collar hopefully yellowed by the end of this, not only with her buff, but with the
Hey,
the wins
that
of
was what the
Fiji.
white collar tribe was the first time too, Mike.
There we go. Exactly. And hopefully she's as much of a character as one on the titular white collar show.
We didn't get a backdoor Worlds Apart, did we?
Wait a minute. I mean, maybe. I'm trying to think. I know that it's a fan exercise where sometimes people like to sort casts into, like, what if this was brains versus brawn versus beauty? Maybe if we have enough time, maybe we'll sort this cast into white collar, blue collar, no collar.
Yeah, I don't think there were any ER doctors on the original no collar tribe, but maybe.
Well,
close.
I mean, yeah, I feel like ER doctors have their collars covered in red at certain points, depending on what the emergency is.
All right, let's listen to what you talked about with Anika, and then come back and talk about it.
How are you doing right now?
I am so hyped. I can't stop smiling from ear to ear. It's every moment about this experience has been already so incredible. It's amazing.
Well, let's hopefully keep the momentum going. Let's start with something nice and easy. Why don't you give me your name, your age, and your occupation?
Okay, my name is Anika Dhar. I am 26 years old, and I am a manager of finance and operations at a marketing agency.
Okay, so you're crunching the numbers. Seems perfect for Survivor.
Crunching the numbers. Always got to pay attention to the numbers. Absolutely.
So then what has you out here on Survivor? What's your history with the show? How did you decide to, go from someone behind the scenes to hopefully someone running things behind the scenes?
Absolutely. So I am a COVID watcher of Survivor. Season 28 came on Netflix, and I genuinely mean this when I say that I watched one episode of that show and immediately Googled how to apply to get on Survivor, because it was like an instinctual need for me. Like, I watched the show and I was like, okay, this is the greatest challenge to exist mentally and physically. And I was like, it's not a want, it's a need. Like, I need to be a part of this game to complete this challenge. And of course, like, everything that I've, all these moments throughout my life have really, like, made me so confident in my abilities to win this game. So when I, like, see that first episode, I'm like, I can do this, and I'm going to do this, and I'm doing it. So
There you go. Manifestation at its finest. Talk to me more about your life leading up to this point. If you could boil it down to, like, one life experience you feel has most prepared you for what you're about to jump into, what would it be?
there's a lot of life experiences, but I think one of the most impactful ones to note specifically helped me mentally prepare for this. So there's, like, obviously a lot of things that can prepare you physically, but the one mentally was that my house, my family home, actually burnt in the California Tubbs wildfire in
Oh my
20.
goodness.
Um, yeah, it was really shocking, very unexpected, really emotional for me, my family, and my community. But what I will say is that I learned throughout that process and dealing with it how to live with nothing, right? So I think that that mentally prepared me going through that life experience to be on the island, because without your phone, without your mementos, without your family, with nothing, some people can be driven crazy. But I think that genuinely that life experience prepared me for this moment so that I can focus on the game instead of thinking of things back home or thinking of the things that I'm missing. Like, I'm going to be so focused out there.
I would also imagine that it allows you to kind of, like, look inward, not even necessarily in yourself, but, like, the people around you, right? That support system. And it's pretty equivalent to, like, if you get hit with a hell of a storm and you're all huddling under the shelter for warmth.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, out there, people also needing material items, like, that's not going to be a worry for me out there. I'm going to be able to focus on the game, think of the people who support me back home, and I feel mentally clear, essentially.
So I know you're a recent convert to Survivor, but from the stuff you have blitzed through excitingly in the process, give me one Survivor winner and one
Okay.
non-winner who you identify with the most.
Okay. Great question. Identify with, see, there's so many winners that I love, right? So there's some players that I love to watch and I will watch their game a million times. And then there's some winners who I actually think that I'm more closer to how I'm going to play the game. I gotta call out Parvati and Sandra. I love Parvati. I think I could persuade people like her. I love Sandra because I think I can be a little bit blunt and straightforward in my day-to-day, just like she can be. However, I think I'm going to play the game closest to specifically Sarah in season 34.
Oh,
Um,
interesting.
because I think that she was kind of friends with everyone. She was on multiple different alliances. She played this very fair middle game. And I think she had a lot of people trust her. So I think a lot of people are going to trust me. And also, she did have advantages in the game. And then she also played a very honest and true game, but still strategic and still a little villainous. But she, so that was her goal, right? She went in that season saying, I'm not going to play the cop, I'm going to play the villain.
Hmm.
And so I think that's how my game is going to be, like a pretty friendly to all, but I will be still playing advantages and I will still play a strategic game.
What about a non-winner?
Non-winner. Oh, great question. Ooh, who I play the most like or who I love watching? Because I have to give it up to Kelly Wentworth. I love Kelly Wentworth so much. She's a badass, if I'm allowed to say that word. I just think, again, she has so many iconic moves that I could only hope that when I'm out there, I play my idol and it's Wentworth, Wentworth, Wentworth. Like that is my dream for it to happen, to play an idol that correctly. So
I mean, I hope not, because that means that you got so many
I
votes
know.
against you. But like,
Actually, you're right. Actually, you're so right. Take that back. Take that back of me.
oh my goodness. Well, on that note, I guess besides attracting votes unintentionally, so what would you say is going to be your biggest superpower and your biggest piece of kryptonite that you bring from your life into the game of Survivor?
Okay. My biggest superpower, I think, would be my experience being a project manager, because in that role in my life, I learned very well how to analyze different personalities and different personality types and then tailor my communication styles to each one of them, right? So there's some people who are a little bit more sensitive and some people who are a little bit more loud, and you basically know how to talk to each person a little bit differently for the most successful outcome. And then I think my kryptonite is that I very well know that I can be a very expressive person on my face. Like, and I've been told this many times in my life. So I know going into this game, I need to watch this because it is a telltale for if I'm annoyed, if I don't like something, if I don't like your plan, or if I do like your plan. Like, I need to rein this in right now. So that's my kryptonite.
You speak about your project management skills. Does that leadership just naturally come out of you? Do you expect that to come out on the beach as well?
It is natural for me. I would say, like, in my friend groups and in my life, I am the planner. I'm the person to go to. I'm the one calling the shots. I'm the one saying, "Hey guys, let's do A, B, C, D, and E, F, G." But on the island, I'm going to play it very carefully. I
Mm.
don't want to be flagged as that person who's obviously calling on the shots, right? That is a red flag. That is a threat. So being aware of that, I think that hopefully with a very strong alliance, I can work well with my alliance and be maybe that leader within my alliance instead of necessarily trying to run the shots everywhere or be that leader.
Well, you talk about people that might prospectively be in your alliance. Let's try to put some faces in there, because I'm sure you have been sitting with nothing but your thoughts the past few days, and I'm sure you have plenty on the people that you will be playing against. So, based on first impressions right
Okay.
now, let's say on the positive side, who would you identify as like best case scenario? You hit the beach day one. These are my ride or dies. Are you identifying some people right now that fill that category?
Absolutely. Since before we even got here, when we were on the airport, the moment we like hit the lobby, right? You're eyeing everyone and their behaviors. You're seeing who smiles back at you, who's like giving signs of you're willing to work with, sensing their vibe. And I do have a few key players in mind, guys and girls, who I would love to align with, hopefully. Of
Well,
course, I've never heard them speak, but
describe them to me to the best of your
okay.
ability. I'd love to hear who they are.
Okay, so there's this one woman, from her bags we know initials, okay?
Mhm.
So it's RL, okay? Very, very sweet, seemed very calm and composed, and I can tell she's very smart as well. I think me and her, just from the eye contact already, that's all that it was needed, purely based on intuition here. Got good vibes from her. Um, there is another guy, again, very smiley, very happy, very excited. I don't know his initials exactly, but he looks like a skater boy wearing his Vans. I feel also similarly vibes with him. Again, very kind eyes, looks very nice. On the opposite though, am I allowed to
Yeah.
say things when
Oh, please
I'm
open it
talking?
up. Yes. The
Okay,
library's open.
so the thing is that I find myself to be a very introspective person. And I journal a lot. So I'm keeping tabs on all of the people who are also journaling just as much because I mean, that's someone to watch out for because if you're as introspective as I am, that is a big red flag for me. So SP, those are his initials. He's journaling a lot. Got my eyes on him. Definitely seems like a strategic, smart player. Could be a great alliance member, obviously, if we're aligned. However, also dangerous to watch out with. He also seems like he could be a really big challenge threat.
Mm.
And then who else? Oh, TH could be a someone that I would align with. Vibes. She also very smart. You could just tell. But also seems down to earth. Anyways, there's also things that I'm looking at as in such and like their behaviors, their mannerisms, how they talk to the staff, like all of their little things I'm paying attention to constantly and journaling about them immediately. So
How did you prepare for this experience? Because it seems like you are a comprehensive person. Was that carrying over into your preparation for this as well?
yeah, totally. So obviously there's like the long prep, right? So like while you're going through this audition process, it's so long. Like you don't know if you're actually going to be on the show. During that process, it's like I do want to like study up on all the different seasons and I do want to like obviously start working out and gaining my muscle mass and all that kind of stuff. However, once I got the official call, the moment from then to now within that month, I actually got a shout out D, the Survivor winner of season 55. She on a podcast on the On Fire podcast did say that she read 2 books prior to going into the show, which was the 48 Laws of Power and Never Split the Difference. So immediately I purchased those books, read both of them. Props to D, excellent reads. So that was like how I was studying up also strategically. On top of those 2 books, also other books like The Art of Seduction, which is not necessarily like sexually seduction, but like, seducing people and getting them on your
Hmm.
side, like playing to that. And then also in general, working out, preparing myself mentally, um, amongst many of those things. Because I think my strengths lie in my social abilities, not necessarily my challenge abilities. I also do love puzzles, so I was puzzling on my phone, and every single puzzle app that you could ever download is on my phone right now.
Well, you have manifested yourself a Wentworth does not count moment. So I guess that segues into what is your approach to idols, to advantages, to journeys, things that are so important to the new era. How do you bring that into your own game?
So great question. I obviously am not going to be a Tony in the season where he's running out to the forest and trying to get all of the idols immediately. I will not be running out day 1 on the beach trying to announce that I'm looking for idols. However, my eyes will always be on the lookout. Um, in terms of beware advantages, I mean, obviously, we all say this, like you want to find it when you're alone, right? However, I do think in this new era with the beware advantages, it does sometimes help to have an alliance member in on it just in case you lose your vote or you need to be gone for a little bit or whatever. Having someone watch out for you and have someone have your back, I think is important.
Hmm.
It all just depends on the scenario. I'm hoping I'm going to be looking. Hope I find one. I hope it's when I'm alone, and then I can share the news as I strategically plan to.
What is your most controversial Survivor opinion? What's your hottest take about a player or a season or the show itself?
Okay, my hot take would probably be that people don't play their idols enough. I don't think that it's embarrassing to play it incorrectly. I
Hmm.
understand as a Survivor player that you want to play it with that Wentworth effect, right? Like you want every vote to be canceled out, which I think drives players to then prevent themselves from playing it because if you play it and then no votes are cast for you, I understand how that could be, a little embarrassing. However, I personally don't think that it's embarrassing at all. And I think that if you have any inclination, any at all, that you are the target, there's no harm in playing your idol because it is worse to go home with it as a souvenir.
Hmm.
I mean, we've seen it in the recent season a lot. In 46, all 3 went home with it in their pockets. And then we've seen it in many seasons prior too. And I understand wanting to keep it till like final 5, final 6, but play your idol. Play your idol. That's my hot take.
Last thing I want to ask is if you could bring a celebrity or a fictional character out as a loved one for a loved one's visit, who are you picking and why?
Oh, this is such a good question. Okay, first person that comes to mind, okay, is Rosalia. She is a singer. And the reason why is because throughout this whole entire process for me, the one song that I listened to before any audition, before any interview, before any of this to hype myself up is a song called Despacha by Rosalia. And to have her be there with me, like on the island, just hyping me up would be everything I ever needed to just be full circle and have her there and have her presence. She's a powerful woman who gets me so hyped. So that's my answer.
There you go, Mike. There's the shot caller, Anika.
There we go. Or a shot in the dark caller. Is she in the dark, Rob, when it comes to her chances of winning the game?
No, I don't think so. I mean, I thought that she seems very accomplished. Seems like she's saying all the right things. She talked about having maybe a little bit too of an over-expressive face.
Which is amazing. We love that as the content creators. We love the GIF fodder.
We love it so much. I feel like that if it goes sideways, maybe does it look kind of like an Ellie from Survivor 43?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. And the red flag for me was not necessarily my face is overly expressive. It is, to your point, the very first thing you mentioned, which is like, in my life, I am used to being the one to make the decisions. And I can understand that she wants to bite her tongue as long as she can. But Survivor is a game inherently just due to the deprivational aspects that does how you view, at least from a personality perspective, eventually acting like yourself at the end of the day. You can only go so far pretending. There's only so many calories you can expend putting on a mask. And I do fear once that mask slips, or it could be as immediate as they start working on the shelter and Anika's worst instincts take over and she's, already delineating the orders as to what to do. And that could be something that could put a target on her early on.
Very interesting. She found Survivor during COVID. It is amazing and uncanny how many people have that story in terms of seems like it's almost 40-50% of the players from the new era that were people that just became super fans from watching it on Netflix. That I think that when we look back at the history of the show, that I think that, the two things, one which seemed like a major detriment to the show was sort of that COVID knocked it out for a year. But in that pandemic, having Survivor start streaming on Netflix really opened up this whole I don't know if you'd call it a second or third or fourth act for Survivor, but it is uncanny.
Yeah, it is really interesting. I mean, listen, maybe the COVID comparison is tough to say, but it almost felt like there was a wave in viewership when it came to the fact that people were stuck inside with nothing to do. And there also wasn't necessarily a new season coming out as well. So it wasn't like people were trying to watch that at the same time. It was almost like, okay, well, there's an excuse. There's no new Survivor on. There's no new TV on in general. Let me go catch up on this. And yeah, people do say oh, this is ridiculous. You only discovered Survivor 5 years ago. But it is 5 years ago. And look, well, I don't think anyone can accomplish the feat that Rome did of watching it all in 1 year. It still is a good amount of time for you to be able to sink a lot of effort into doing it. And what I think is also very fun as well is that all these people do come into my interviews and they're like, I'm sure I'm out of the ordinary here, but I probably come to Survivor the latest out of anyone that you're talking to.
Ma'am, you're the fifth person today.
Yeah, exactly. So I think, people should become more accustomed to that. And I also think for people applying as well, that is also something that should not be a barrier to entry for you. That just because you came in late to the show, quite literally better late than never when it comes to your Survivor fandom, because we are experiencing now even more so people, our winner last season, Kenzie, found Survivor by peeping in on her psychic's TV. That's what got her into the show. You have no excuse not to apply.
Okay, Mike, so the vibes people, okay, she gave out some initials, people that I don't believe that we've talked about yet.
But one is on her tribe.
Yes,
so,
can you tell us a little bit about the vibes people she was talking about?
Yeah, so the good vibes, the first one that she spoke about, the one who's very calm and composed, I can tell she's very smart. RL, that is Rachel, who is on her tribe. We'll talk about her.
I was going back to, I know we talked about Rome, but unless his last name is Adunze, then I do not have it still at my recall.
Yeah, exactly. We'll see. Maybe if Rome might be commentating on, he'd be more likely to commentate on a Madden game, let's say, than appearing in any NFL lineups anytime soon. Another guy, unfortunately, not on her tribe, but this is, I believe, the second mention we get of Kyle's, not an RO, but a KO here of like, love his skater vibes, guy with the long hair. So we'll definitely get into him. That's something to maybe check off when it comes to getting to his tribe.
And
but
TH. Thurston Howell?
Yes, exactly. Very different island that she'd be stranded upon. The premiere will be a 2-hour tour of this
Theo
season.
Huxtable?
Well, I would say that, maybe wants to get out of the house.
Don't do it, Mike. Don't do it. TH, who is it?
Tiana, who was unfortunately not on her tribe. But I guess the good or maybe not so good news for Anika here is that one of the people she does not vibe with is on her tribe.
Uh-oh.
SP, the guy who is journaling too much for her liking, is...
Don't gatekeep the journaling, Anika. Come on.
Well, I think it's less so like I don't like what they're doing. It's more so like, I see what you're doing. Like if you're... Because she even admitted, like, I'm journaling as well.
Because isn't what's good for the goose good for the gander, too? Come on, Anika.
Well, that's the thing about Survivor as well, is that can sometimes breed like, we're interested in the same things we like. We think the same way. Let's work together.
What we don't like about other people is what we don't like about ourselves.
We're a complicated species, Rob, in many different ways. And so, so she has a friend on her tribe in Rachel and perhaps an enemy in Sam.
Okay, just tell me a little bit more about Sam, and we're going to get to SP.
Yeah, we're going to get to SP in a couple days. Sam is our NFL reporter, our beat reporter for the Titans. And so, it only makes sense for him to take copious notes on everything that is happening.
Okay. All right. Mike, anything else about Anika?
No, I mean, I think that Anika is going to be a very fun personality. She talked about how she loves Sandra because she can be blunt and straightforward the same way. So I do think no matter how long she lasts, she is going to give us like very fun confessional content. And again, I think if she is able to maybe keep that tendency to step forward a little bit under wraps, like I could see her, as she talks about with me, like if she wants to take the lead of her alliance, I think that is like perfect. Though that might also set her up for failure as well, considering that you mentioned Ellie. She was a very key example of like being perceived as the figurehead of her group to the point that when she came into the merge, there were so many reasons to target her.
Can I pick on Anika's hot take?
Oh, yes, please.
I don't think it's that hot. I think that this is the take if you talk to like every single person that watches Survivor and like, so what's going on with the idols? Like, oh my God, people need to play their idols. What is with these people? Like, that's everybody. That's every single person that watches the show says that. Go on Twitter.
Well, that's
Talk
the
to
thing.
the people on the street. Universally, this is the take that people have about the idols. So I think she is correct, but I disagree with it being a hot take.
Well, that's the thing, though, is this less so of a barometer of like your thoughts on the show and more so your thoughts on the fandom? Like how tapped in is she to the fandom?
I think a hot take, it would be like the hot take would be people need to hold their idols for even longer. That would be a hot take.
Yeah, there's that. I want to see a season where no idols are played. It's like, well, we got season 46.
Like, even if you think you're going home, don't play your idol that night. Like,
you need that souvenir.
Yeah,
$1 million can get you a lot of stuff. It can't get you a great feng shui.
I agree with the point that she's making. I just disagree with that. It's a hot take.
Yeah, well, I don't know. I mean, again, we don't know the circles that she's watching the show in. Who knows? Maybe there are people that are sitting around her being like, I don't know. I think they could have hung on to them for one more round. They just caught with their pants down and all 5 times in 46. But yeah, I mean, I think Anika's logic is also...
We watched a Survivor episode in Chicago with 900 people screaming at the same time, Venus, play your idol!
There you go.
It was universal.
Firsthand evidence, in-house polling. But I think Anika does make a salient point, at least, that like maybe perhaps some of the psychology behind not playing your idol is that you feel like, I gotta save this for a big moment. I gotta have my one where it does not count moment.
Yeah.
And so I think she's on the right track, even if the temperature is...
She's 100% correct. It's just not a hot take.
Yeah, so it'll be interesting as well. I think her and Andy are sort of two sides of a similar coin in their argument, which is like, if you don't need an idol. If you find one, you should probably play one. I think we're obviously going to get a much larger sense of Gata once we find out about everybody, but
Yep. And hopefully the two of them find an idol together. Andy's like, after you. She picks it up, plays it at the first tribal council she goes to.
Yeah, I mean, Andy sort of
It's a win-win for everybody.
Yeah, Andy sort of put forward the Genevieve thing, right? Like, not outright, I'm going to have someone find it and sabotage the Beware advantage, but he's like, I'm going to do one better than Brandon. I'm going to lead someone to find the advantage so that I know it and I don't have it. If he knows that Anika is someone that's looking to play idols immediately, hook, line, and sinker, my friend.
Okay, Mike, tell us what's coming up tomorrow.
All right, so tomorrow, now technically at this point, if you were watching along on YouTube, you have already seen my individualized interview with John Lovett, but we are going to finally contextualize it. We are going to put the interview in and get your thoughts and my thoughts, Rob, about probably the biggest name to appear on the show in quite some time.
Really looking forward to getting to talk about John.
Yeah, it's a very fun conversation in multiple ways. And I think we're going to have a lot to talk about with his own approach to the game, his surprising fandom. How much will that recognizability come into play as well? And we'll also talk about one of the people mentioned as one of Anika's good vibes people in Rachel Lamont.
Okay. All right. If you want to make sure that you don't miss any of our Survivor preseason interviews, make sure you're subscribed to the podcast. We've got so much great stuff coming your way. Won't you take a moment and make sure you are subscribed on any devices that you listen to the podcast to at robhasawebsite.com/subscribe. Mike, where can people check out what you're doing?
Over at parade.com, I have written versions of these interviews also being released twice a day. And at this point, actually, if you want a little bit of a sneak preview of the entire Gata tribe, I have that all up in written form right now. And I've started on the Tuku tribe, our last of three tribes that you and I will be talking about, Rob, our blue tribe, which is Caroline and Gabe, someone who has also had some eyes on him at Ponderosa. So check all that out for the written versions and much more other miscellaneous stuff to come as well.
Okay, you gotta believe. All right, we'll be back tomorrow for more from the Gata tribe. Take care, have a good one. Bye.